Shaunak, wait. Are we live? अरे यार StreamYard ने मुझे धोखा दे दिया. This is exactly how jolted we are by the kind of performance we've seen so far. Wow, I still can't believe we're live, but yeah, all's good. We are live. It does say hello and welcome, folks. Last week जब finals हुआ मुझे लगा ठीक है अभी इंडिया जिम्बाब्वे चिल सीरीज है, ज्यादा कुछ देखने नहीं, इस मगज की नस नहीं फटेगी, आराम से देखेंगे. And boy, have we been thrilled to watch what we saw in the first encounter. Nikhil and Jeet, of course, joining us here. Folks, let's start with you, Nikhil. भाई मतलब क्या देखा है? I don't think anyone saw a loss in the very first game coming. मतलब we would have seen a 3-0 उसके बाद एक consolation victory for Zimbabwe type of result, but a solid performance from Zimbabwe today, यार.
Yeah, बिल्कुल. And just so much for cricket, no? सभी की इच्छाएं पूरी हो गई कि लो स्कोरिंग थ्रिलर भी देखना है, हमको यंग गन्स भी देखने हैं, पर हमको पुराने प्लेयर्स भी मिस करने हैं. तो एक गेम में आपको सब कुछ दिख गया. आई डोंट थिंक एनीबडी इवन सॉ द लॉस कमिंग व्हेन यू केप्ट देम टू 115, but it just tells you how well Zimbabwe bowled as a unit, and probably a very harsh loss for a very young side. And again, I know the expectations are कि भाई you would want to steamroll, but it is not as easy. तो जो wins की भी हम expect कर रहे थे, you did not expect a dominating performance because these conditions are not where you roll over sides. So historically, Zimbabwe में 150, 160 has always been good enough for teams to defend. And the way Zimbabwe found new heroes, I think it was also the last pair. I think India missed the trick as well, but again, उसके बारे में डिटेल में बात करेंगे. There were many moments where you felt India could have got it back, but today is the day for Sikandar, Raza, and even Madande and Chatara. So cannot be more happy for them. But yeah, Indians should अपने को सबको just should relax, टेंशन मत लो. एक गेम हारे हैं, उससे वर्ल्ड कप का कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. रिलैक्स करो, रिलैक्स.
And to be honest, what makes it even more heartening is the fact that this wasn't sort of, a win concocted by just one person. It wasn't a one-man performance. Aisa kuch. It was a solid all-round showing from Zimbabwe's bowlers. And Jeet, again, you can chip in here. A solid performance, sure. I mean, you can discredit it by saying, it's a full string 11 hai hi nahi. These are all debutants, inexperienced players. But ये सब IPL खेल के आ रहे हैं, और India के inexperienced players, India के domestic players also, you would imagine, should be good enough.
Yeah, they should be, and we have seen all these guys and the ability and the talent they've got as individuals. They have been these individual performers in the IPL or for the domestic side. But for all these youngsters, gelled together, that was always going to be something new for them. So ek saath khelna is a different challenge. It's a different vibe, and it takes time for you to get used to all the other players, all the other youngsters, and start performing as a team. So that is something that was yet to be tested, and it hasn't started well for India. But like Nick said, it's not really a worrying sign. First game at TK, people are right now hungover after the win. People are still celebrating, and now the reality, hits home that okay, there is no Virat Kohli, there is no Rohit Sharma, and all the other big guns are also missing. It's a new look Indian attack, and we have lost the first game. But TK first game, that's fine. And also, of course, credit to Zimbabwe, and you can't take anything away from them, because they also are in their rebuilding phase, because they've said no to Craig Irvine, they've said no to Sean Williams, they've moved on from those guys. Brad Evans is injured as well. So even they have got quite a few youngsters coming into their side. It was a fairly new look 11 that you'd get to see. Wesley Madhivre making a comeback. Brandon Mahuta, I know he didn't play, but he is also making a comeback after serving his term. So it's a new look and a young Zimbabwean side as well. So even for them to actually perform like this and defend such a low target was a phenomenal job. So whilst there is nothing for India to really worry about so much as of now, you've also got to give equal credit to Zimbabwe for the kind of defense that they put in.
100%. And let's just have the match summary out as well for the uninitiated, of course, in terms of what we saw today. India won the toss, opted to bowl first, and Shubman also spoke about how there are a lot of sort of newcomers entering the side, a lot of new names. So there's a bit of freshness, which also means they will themselves want to figure out what each and everyone's role is going to be. So bowling first would sort of, augur well for them on that front. Zimbabwe, of course, did not really make much of it. At least in hindsight, you cannot say that. Back then, at the end of the first innings, you thought, bhai, matlab, ye to expected hi tha ki zyada kuch hoga nahi yahan pe. And 115 is what they ended their first innings at, thanks to a solid performance from Ravi Bishnoi, a 4-4 for him, 4 for 13 to be precise. In response, India's batting never really got going. A wicket in the first over. Abhishek Sharma was dismissed by Bennett over there. Brian Bennett also a solid performance from him. Bowled just the one over, but maiden wicket. Khatam baat. Aur kya chahiye tumhe? Like, reminded me of Kyle Mayers and his new ball exploits, but who cares? Shubman Gill did come up with a decent enough start, but quickly ran out of partners. In fact, when he got out, if I'm not wrong, the score was about 47, 48 for 6. And Avesh and Washington Sundar had to string a partnership together. Again, a very, very, very weird combination. Avesh being the third highest run scorer in an inning. Again, not something you see often. With the ball in hand, of course, it was Tendai, Chatara and Sikandar, Raza, the pick of the bowlers for Zimbabwe. 3 for 16 for Tendai, Chatara, 3 for 25 for Sikandar, Raza. Not to forget, Raza, Nikhil bhai ne bhi mentioned kya tha in his top 5 picks. Of course, a very obvious call. The guy bats, the guy bowls, the guy fields. Aur kya chahiye tumhe? A very obvious pick. And he, of course, went on to show why that is the case. Nikhil bhai, let's start with India's batting. Okay? Let's sort of directly start with the second innings. We know a lot of new names are coming in. Sure, at least from the most sane bunch, you know, ki boss, theek hai, expectations rakho, but you also need to understand this is their first time out playing together as a team as well. It's not just about the debutants. A lot of these players haven't played with each other, so it takes a bit of time. So it is important to understand 5 match ka series hai, 5 match do, uske baad ideally उसके बाद भी कुछ ज्यादा बात मत करो, but अगर कुछ बात करना भी है तो wait for the series to end. Until then, there's no point jumping to conclusions.
As I said, even after that, you should not jump to conclusion. Again, it's a very good sign for all of us to just hold our horses and realize that it is not easy to just play for India and perform. भाई इतना easy होता तो कितने लोग कर लेते तो and you have to also understand these are not the best conditions for them to come out and express themselves. Now we have gone complete full life circle in the last few months where before the T20 World Cup we wanted all these youngsters. We wanted them to play freely. But then this is what can happen when you at times bat freely when you are in a new set of role. As you said, new guys, partnership batting, all of this matters. Gill is opening with Abhishek Sharma. Of course, they've played a lot of cricket together. But you are playing at a different level now. Opponents are planning for you differently. So you have to give them that freedom to fail. और अगर वो नहीं दोगे तो फिर पहले डिसाइड कर लो कि व्हाट डू यू वांट इवेंचुअली आई थिंक वी ओनली वांट विंस बट apart from that I think all of them were probably caught up in 2 minds of wanting to just stamp their authority okay, we are picked to play an aggressive brand of cricket. That's what Abhishek tried to do, but he was beaten by the bounce there. Gaikwad again I feel got a, I wouldn't say a good nut, but he got out to a good ball so to speak because he just fended at one and got caught. Riyan Parag wanted to take the game on. That's what he did the entire IPL. अब वो नहीं करता तो we will always question देखो इंडिया में आके टुक टुक कर रहा है आईपीएल के लिए तो कैसे खेलता है. So I think they were the intention and the intent was right, but probably you feel they should have probably given them some more time. But then you have to realize half of them are on debuts. So it is not going to be that easy for them to adapt and adjust when even experienced pros at times take time. I think Dhruv Jurel is the best example. He got a good cover, a good boundary through covers. But the next ball he wanted to probably try and hit on the up. Now, this wasn't a surface for that, but that is instincts. They take time for you to change. And when it is a difficult deck, it is not going to be easy. So, it's a very harsh, as I said, it's a very harsh lesson for this very young batting lineup. You'll probably see them bat far better in the coming T20s. And again, that is something that you'd assume that, of course, they will work and just find a better pace at which they want to just pace their innings. So, I'm looking at a lot more restrained, I wouldn't say restrained, but a lot more calculative batting going forward from India's sense. But yeah, a harsh day out for a lot of them.
A harsh day out and also very harsh reality being imposed right up front. Something again none of them would have sort of seen coming. But Jeet, again in terms of India's batting, sure, yeah, wasn't the greatest. But what about Zimbabwe's bowling? Yeah, they were spot on. Hardly gave anything, to the batters, which is why, like we spoke about the all-round bowling performance. It wasn't just one bowler or two. Everyone chipped in terms of not conceding runs, ensuring that pressure was being maintained constantly. Solid performance for them.
True, and not to forget the tactics as well, because how often would you see two spinners actually, open the bowling? You're brave enough to actually open the bowling with Brian Bennett, and from the other end they brought in Wellington Masakatsa. So you think कि भाई अभिषेक शर्मा तो क्यों ऑफ स्पिन डाल रहा है, because वो तो अभी बैश करता है. Gill has a bad record. That's a different thing. But Abhishek Sharma, we've seen what he's done this year's IPL. So by Q spin Dalgro, but it worked. They played on his ego and it actually worked for them. And then Wellington Masakatsa did a decent job in his first over as well. So credit to their tactics as well. But as far as the pace attack is concerned, we have always known all their pacers to be really good. We have seen Tendai Chatara so often. Tendai Chatara, there was Tinashe Panyangara who was there as well. Richard Engarava is injured, so he's not there in this particular series. But Liu Jongwei has been a consistent performer. Blessing Muzarabani is an outstanding pacer who, for a reason, got a county because that talent was spotted very early in him. And then, he was trained really well by the Northamptonshire Academy. And from there on, he developed really well. He honed his skills. And we can see that on the show as well. He has done that against the bigger teams time and again. And you could see that with his bowling, bowling those deliveries at 140 Ks and getting the lift of good lengths. Man, outstanding bowler. So all of them did a phenomenal job. And like you said, everybody chipped in and it was a collectively fantastic effort by all of them. Led by, of course, Sikandar Raza as well, was chipping in with his off breaks and also seam up deliveries from in between. So a fantastic all-round performance and very good to see that with all of them chipping in. We are yet to see Brandon Mahuta. Of course, Obi, he's also making a comeback like Wesley Madivri, but he's an outstanding leggy as well. So they've got all the varieties covered as well. So fantastic all-round performance and great to see that defense of 115.
In fact, I was also sort of looking for a few numbers and I was going through the pitch maps of both the bowling sides. Jeet, thoughts on this? We know that Harare is going to be the menu for the next, for the upcoming 4 T20Is as well. Today, Indian bowlers bowled about 30% of their deliveries at the 6-meter shorter length. Of course, bowlers, matlab pace और spin दोनों मिला के कह रहा हूँ, haven't had the time to go crunch a bit deeper. On the other hand, Zimbabwe, they were smarter. They knew that these, you have to bowl into the surface. There's no point going fuller, especially in search of swing and whatnot. Also aided by the fact that someone like a Blessing Mujirabani, for example, his natural length is also a bit shorter. Usko डालने की जरूरत है नहीं fuller. They bowled about 30% more shorter deliveries than India. They bowled a total of 40% of their deliveries were 6 meters shorter. This shows how, again, this smarts. All you need is cricketing smarts. It's not just about talent and it's not played on paper.
Yeah, just sticking to basics and backing your strength. And that's exactly what Muzrabani did. You look at Khalil Ahmed and that 1 over where he conceded 16. It was, I think, Brian Bennett who was one of the batters who was, there. And his strength is backward point. That's the area that he likes to access. So, I think a drop catch bhi tha. So, India were, I don't know, they were looking for swing. They were searching for swing. They were hitting those one particular length. Khalil Ahmed, Mukesh Kumar after that. But as far as Zimbabwe are concerned, they knew what their strengths are. Like you mentioned about Blessing Muzravani, he's got the extra height. He's got that lift because of that high arm action as well that he gets. So all of them are doing a fantastic job. Luke Jongwei at times was slightly off color because he was trying to bowl those off cutters and erring on line. But some of the other deliveries also, not only were they short, but they were dug in with those off cutters. So that also made it hard on this particular surface, with the leg side being the larger side for, whether it's the right hander or the left hander. So they were mixing that well, bringing the dimensions also into play. So it was very, very smartly done, in particular by the Zimbabwean Pacers here. Maybe a lesson to learn for the Indian Pacers that, early on, maybe there will be movements you can hit those particular lengths initially. But after that, you've always got to drag your lengths back because that is what works. This is T20 cricket. Starting with swing milta, you pitch the ball up. When the power play is done, you always drag your length back. But you always also start bringing in your variations early. That is also something to be concerned, something to look at. But having said that, even the Indian bowlers did well. It was only Khalil Ahmed who ended up conceding 28 runs of 3 overs. So that was the only one spot that didn't shine brightly for India. Abhishek Sharma, 2 over 17, that's a different thing. But Khalil Ahmed is the only bowler that I would probably look at from the Indian bowling attack as well, who kind of failed to have the impact that you would have wanted to see from him. So other than that, it was decent. Both the bowling units sticking to the strengths, and it really worked out well for them.
Yeah, and just to add to Jeet's point about Khalil, now you expect Khalil to be able to go, so to be the guy who looks to go for the swing, because that's where he's got his wickets in the IPL as well, by bowling that footer length. So that adjustment, you saw him do that, and I also feel he was probably a bit unlucky in terms of he got a couple of edges as well, which just went past the fielders and it went to third. Now it's in a game of 115, even those 10-15 runs matter a lot, and they set the tone differently for you. So again, expecting that to change very, very quickly. Very keen to see how they go about using the pacers more, because you felt both Mukesh and Avesh as well. Whenever they bowled, even the first over that Avesh bowled to Sikandar, he bowled one very up and Sikandar Raza hit him down the ground. At that very moment, you realize this is not the deck to bowl full. But again, sometimes you just want to get yourself in, and this was the wrong day for India to come out at the wrong end of it by not being able to adapt quickly enough, and ended up conceding a score that they could not even scrape through to a win by that margin. So lots of lessons for them.
And also probably a bit in hindsight, but do you think someone like a Sai Sudarshan could probably have made a difference? Again, not trying to sort of set the cat amongst the pigeons ki boss change kar do jaldi jaldi, ye nahi kaam kar raha. He already has played for India, South Africa mein khela hai, so you would imagine someone like him would probably have been higher in the pecking order compared to some of the other names there. So Jeet, let's start with you on that. If not opening, maybe okay, they were like Abhishek Sharma se open karwana hi hai. Number 3 pe he's done very well for Gujarat Titans. He could have done that role that Rudraj Gaikwad was expected to do at number 3.
Yeah, I agree. I think India went the CSK way with Ruturaj Gaikwad. So Brahani started to open. It was Gaikwad who shafted down to number 3. So that was something very similar. Because if we want Gaikwad in your 11, then you better make him open. But with Gill and Abhishek Sharma in your side, you probably don't have that open slot. So somebody like Sai Sudarshan could have been a great match at number 3. Opening, like you said, yeah, Zarurat nahi, Abhishek Sharma is an option. Yashasvi Jaiswal, although is not there, he's an option. So we don't need Sai Sudarshan to be opening for India in this format of the game. He's done a phenomenal job at number 3. So I think he could have been that right guy to actually see off this kind of a chase, which is just of 116 runs. Could have been very, very handy. I mean, वो बंदा जाके वो county cricket खेल रहा है. He could have actually been a good addition. I was actually also looking at Tilak Verma. Tilak Verma could have been an option. I don't know why he's been left out, unless if there are injury concerns that I may not be aware of.
With Tilak, yeah, there are some injury concerns. At least that's what I. That's why he
He was
isn't a part of
injured.
it.
He was injured at the time of the selection. So, and I can see
Exactly.
with Sai, my only bit is all of us wanted people to bat at a better strike rate. We've discussed at length about at what strike rate Sai batted, and so I think that would also be a bit of hindsight there. That somebody like a Sai would have helped, but if Sai had played and not Abhishek, we would have questioned that as well. So I think in terms of getting that intent right, the point was they wanted to try people who are aggressive in that nature, and that's where I feel for all of these guys, I think it is fine, but I think this is probably the bigger series for Ruturaj Gaikwad. Just in personal, because I feel there is Gill, who when you name him captain, you're probably showing him a good vote of confidence that you are our incumbent opener, backup opener, and you expect Jaiswal to be the guy who will probably open with him. That makes it very, very tricky and important for Gaikwad to have a very good series to stay in the reckoning, because with Pant batting at 3, it is now completely different, battle that Gaikwad has to take up first. So I think going forward, I'm looking forward to how RG is able to adapt to these kind of roles.
Which is why actually, Nikhil bhai, what I was thinking is Sai instead of Rutraj, not Abhishek, because I do agree India ko
Fair,
thoda
fair.
ek chahiye. Because the way I look at it, he could sort of be that glue between someone like a Sky and Pant lower down and Abhishek at the top. Or Jaiswal, not Abhishek, Jaiswal in the future. He could probably be that slightly more anchor type batter who also has it in him ki boss चाहे जो भी हो जाए विकेट तो मैं नहीं दूंगा. We all know of his record ki in the IPL he's been dismissed in single digit figures only once in all of his career. So clearly वो है बंदे में वो potential है. So do you see that something like that could happen? Maybe not right now, but in the future if Ruturaj Gaikwad does not take this opportunity with both hands.
See, I would honestly not want that to happen. I'm more than happy to have Sai just play the longer format for me. Very keen to see how he goes in the red ball format also, if you want to push in that direction. Because, see, with T20, we saw that in this World Cup as well. You've given in to that idea that we are going to be aggressive, we are going to bat with freedom. Now, if you go back to wanting a guy who's wanting to be an anchor, then I don't think it will sit well with the kind of calls that you have taken in the past. So you have Pant, you have Sky. To be honest, अगर मेरे को अभिषेक शर्मा जायसवाल दोनों मिलते टीम में, I would pick them or try and pick a side again, purely because of the kind of role that they're looking at from the team. So if this was a different kind of setup, then yes, maybe 100% Sai, good option there. But if they have decided okay, we are going to go the route of being aggressive right through bat till number 8, so then I would probably, अगर Sai open नहीं करा, then I'll probably not want him in the side that way.
But I think India needs to find a solution because they've got too many options right now who can open the batting. So who's your fit at number 3? What happens when Yashasvi Jaiswal also comes in? So I personally will be more than happy knowing that Gil be a anchor a batter. He's not somebody who's going to provide you very, very quick starts in the power play or going to finish with say 100 or 50 balls so often. So your option is Gil is going to open. Maybe when Jaiswal comes in, he's going to be slotted as his partner. So that number 3 slot remains empty. So you've got the option of Ruturaj Gaikwad. You've got the option of Sai Sudarshan. Both of whom are defensive options. ठीक है anchor role कर लेते हैं, but you don't know whether you need that or not. Whether that is a brand of cricket you want to play with this generation of cricketers, or whether that suits this next new gen Indian team. So I would rather go for Abhishek Sharma as well at number 3. I would not mind. That's a spot he did bat a few times for SRH as well. I know Obi Idol as an opener here, but he can do the job at number 3 as well. It's not a big deal. So I'd be more than happy for this guy to come in at number 3, Abhishek, with when Jaiswal comes back.
Interesting. I mean, it's a very unlike India problem of having too many left-handers right now. कि भाई किसको खिलाएं किसको ना खिलाएं. This is so good to see that. So let's see who of these southpaws do get the nod ahead going forward. India, of course, are scheduled to next play 3 T20Is in Sri Lanka. Then they'll play T20Is against South Africa in South Africa, and that'll happen in November. And yeah, apart from that, it'll be England in Jan. That's happening at home. So those are the T20I scheduled for now. So it'll be very interesting to see kya hota hai wahan pe. Time for us to now, of course, talk about a certain Tendai Chatara, who also happens to be our top performer of the day. I know a lot of people might be thinking about Sikandar Raza kai nahi bhai. Bad ball, दोनों में contribute तो क्या है? Because काफी obvious सा नाम है. सिकंदर रजा भाई तो हम लोग बात करेंगे. वो जिस दिन ना भी खेलो उस दिन भी शायद उन्हीं की बात करेंगे हम लोग. पता है हमको. But again, guys, we all knew Raza will need more people, will need a second in command, a third in command who can sort of chip in and help Zimbabwe to sort of, put a step forward. This guy, the bloke, first over shot, did not start off too greatly, if I'm not wrong, conceded 10 runs, 8 to 10 runs, something like that. Second over, Riyan Parag and Rinku Singh, two dangerous batters in their own right, dono ko nikala. And then sixth over, power play, maiden. We all know how sixth over is usually that over where batters tend to be a bit more aggressive. Sure, India were already pegged back by wickets, so they were going to always be defensive. Even then, Jeet, let's start with your maiden in the power play. And uske baad, of course, came back, cleaned up Washington Sundar to hand Zimbabwe a victory. Three important wickets, a maiden. Solid performance by the lad there.
Yeah, not to forget that even he is making a comeback to the Zimbabwean T20I side. So Chatara is somebody that I've watched for so many years and I've always been impressed irrespective of the format that he plays. Chatara in his own conditions is a beast. And I've seen that for such a long, long time. The good thing with Chatara is that he may not look very, very quick or he's not going to threaten you with his pace. He's going to be 125, 130. But the key with Chatara is that he bowls wicket-taking deliveries more often than not. Yama randomly take you'll get those boundary deliveries, but you'll have those wicket-taking balls as well. And more often than not, they do actually lead to wickets. So not only that, it's not only his contribution with the ball, not to forget that he survived 9 balls as well, batting at number 11, which allowed Clive Mandade to actually, get those 25 runs and put Zimbabwe to 115, without which they may not have won this game. So it was those 9 balls as well, where he did that Jack Leach kind of thing in the T20 format. 0 of 9, best thing, allowed Mandade to survive, score those runs in the last 2-3 overs when they were, I believe, 94 for 9 or something. So fantastic job on his part as well to contribute to the bat. But of course, I mean that bowling was sensational. Like you said, it was not those wickets at the death or something, or wickets on lower order batters. It was key batters that he was able to dismiss, the big names, and that is something that went on to have a huge influence on the eventual result. Parag he was trying to take him on and he couldn't execute the shot. But still, by Riyan Parag ka wicket, you'd probably take that happily with both hands, even if he's the one who commits a mistake. So good to see that. Making a comeback and straight away having an impact like this with the bat, with the ball is fantastic to see that.
100%. And before I get to Nikhil bhai and his thoughts, I know Path has been adamant in asking us कि भाई क्या हो रहा है MNL चालू हो रहा है कि नहीं? Sorry, pardon my French, but of course Monday Night Live will be back starting the 8th of July, just one day after Tala's birthday. So fingers crossed the second season will be just as fun as the first season. So yeah, we will be back, a brand new edition, a brand new format, so to say. So it'll be lots of fun. Nikhil bhai, Avnisha and I, the three of us will be there 8 p.m. sharp every Monday starting the coming Monday, 8th of July, of course. So that's that. And Nikhil bhai, of course, coming back to Tendai Chatara. Yeah, matlab, we know that the surface was sort of going to be more conducive to paces, but it also takes cricketing smarts to understand ki boss kahan pe dalna. And like Jeet mentioned, sure, Riyan Parag was trying to take him on or wicket gawa betha, but you can't put that against Chatara. He stuck to his lens. He knew what needs to be bowled. Rinku Singh, I really like what he did to Rinku Singh there. The way he sort of, really tied him up, cramped him for room and tuck. Yeah, solid.
I mean, I was just about to say that the Riyan Parag dismissal, I'll still be not too perturbed by it, but that Rinku Singh dismissal was something that would say that is something that will make the bowling coach and the team go, wow, that is brilliantly executed. Because, that is something that you plan for a very big wicket for you, because if you get to him, means you already have India in a lot of trouble. And then if you are able to execute it very, very well, again, just a case of a guy not having enough game time and the guy just getting probably the worst kind of delivery to be able to get himself in. Because again, bounce was an issue for a few of the batters. Abhishek also got out trying to hit a horizontal bat shot off the pull. Rinku again was rushed into it in terms of could not read the bounce well. So, as you know, Jeet also mentioned a very good day of following the basics. Sometimes we all overcomplicate the game. Eventually, it is just about trying to do what's the best for that very given day on that very given day. बस इससे ज़्यादा complication करने का ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. I think Sundar also did that very well. Just to draw a parallel in terms of how we got India back, but the lesson that Zimbabwe learned from that as well was very encouraging. That they did not then bowl anything up to him in the last part of the game. You never saw anything up to him. And the one ball which was there, which Sundar even drove on the up over covers, Campbell made a brilliant stop right in that over to just not give him anything away. So I think it was a very good day for the bowling unit of Zimbabwe, and something that I'm sure the Indian bowling contingent will want to sit down and take notice. Okay, see, it's happened quite often, even with the senior team, that taller bowlers have hit the deck and got more out of the surface. So I'm sure that is something that is going to be there on their minds, that they'll have to start looking into this a bit more, because Avesh is just the kind of guy who should probably take inspiration from Chatara, ke bowling, mixing those lengths up, hitting the deck, and then also going for the odd one that is, up there, asking you to try and take a risk. So good game for Zimbabwe, but very good game for India to learn from as well.
I'm actually very keen to see how Harshit Rana goes on these tracks, because that guy, the lens that his natural lens and the stock delivery that he's got are absolutely ideal for the conditions that we get over here at the HSC. So that's going to be, very, very exciting to watch. But even coming to Chatara and the maiden over that you talked about, the seventh over of the game, which is the first over after the power play is over. So you had the field spread out. भाई वहां पर जाके मेडन डालना was a different thing altogether. You probably think कि भाई चलो, it's the time, first over after the power play, the batters, the kind of situation that India were in, they were not looking for boundaries. It was very obvious. You had to consolidate, you had to build a partnership. So there were ones on offer with the fielders and the team. But वहां पर भी that guy executed a fantastic maiden over. And with Chatara, it's not only that. He's got a lot of experience in the T20 format. And he averages around 23.7. But his figures in the T20I format are even better. He's averaging lesser than what he does in his entire T20 career, which of course comprises of T20Is as well. But by T20I में 22 का average होना after getting 65 wickets goes on to show that by भले 125, 130 का pace हो, he can still take the wickets and he can still be as threatening in this format of the game.
Very valid points, those. And again, Zimbabwe will take a lot of heart from that bowling performance, from their lads, and they will be hoping to sort of do an encore come tomorrow, of course. In case you forgot, India playing back-to-back T20I, something we don't really see often from the men's side of things. But India, of course, are playing on Saturday, Sunday, then Wednesday, and once again next Saturday and Sunday. So, hi, pura weekend ka mast aisa vasool raha hai wahan pe Zimbabwe mein. So, of course, we will be back tomorrow as well. Couple of questions before we wrap the review up. Of course, Hariharan asking us, how good was Bishnoi today? हमने इंडिया के बॉलिंग में पेसेस और ये सब के बारे में बात किया. To be honest, I kid you not, फर्स्ट इनिंग्स खत्म हुआ, हाँ, टॉप परफॉर्मर रवि बिश्नोई. मुझे लगा ठीक है भाई, अभी टीवी बंद करके हम सोने चलते. Completely surprised with how things turned, but Again, a very good performance from Ravi Bishnoi. Even more so, given how his IPL had fared. We all know ki boss Chahal had been preferred over him for the World Cup as well because of that poor IPL that he had. Jeet, again, very good performance and something he will also be happy with.
Yeah, and the key thing was he finally found the lens and he finally batted his googlies. During the IPL, he was erring on length, he was erring on line, and we also started seeing a lot more leg breaks come into the game. Whereas Ravi Bishnoi is somebody who's known to torment the right hand batters with his googlies or even left hand batters. Googlies is what he excels on. That's exactly what we got to see. भाई यार 24 बॉल में कितने googlies उसने डाले, and he turned out to be very effective at that because all the 4 wickets that he got were of googlies. They were wrong ones. Sadly, I don't know, hat-trick ball with a leg break डाल के, that's a different thing because it was very evident. He had a slip, he had a silly point, and suddenly leg break डाल दिया उसने. But anyway, the point is he was very, very disciplined, and that is the exact thing that was lacking for most of the IPL. So seeing him get his mojo back, Bali against Zimbabwe, yeah, but him hitting those 24 balls in the right areas, right lengths, right lines was very, very important. And going forward, we anyway know that, okay, Yuzvendra Chahal is potentially done for India in the T20I format of the game. So who are the next best right arm wrist spinners that we've got? And I would probably easily say Ravi Bishnoi is probably at the top of the list, Aram se, because he was a contender, or many thought that he's the one who's going to make a breakthrough into the T20 World Cup squad, but he didn't. So he's always going to be the next best wrist spinner that we've got, the right arm wrist spinner. Bakia Rahul Chair is an option, and Suyash Sharma is an option. But all these guys, I mean, Rahul Chair has been tried and tested, has not really worked out, and his strengths are very different. You'd rather have somebody who attacks the stumps a lot more often. And it's a generation where the googly bowlers work more often than not, who are quicker through the air, attack the stumps, bowl more googlies and leg breaks. And Ravi Bishnoi is that answer, for India in the wide ball formats.
Could be the solution, could very well be the solution. And again, I personally have always felt Ravi Bishnoi has been the superior option for India, at least in the last couple of years. If I'm not wrong, he was also the world number one bowler for a brief period as well earlier this year at the end of the India-Afghanistan series, that is. Would you consider Varun Chakrabarti? Well, we'll save that question for another day. Tomorrow, of course, we will be back. Just one last question before we end this, guys, for Zimbabwe. Antum Nakwi, someone like him also coming in, hopefully before the end of this series. That'll be a huge shot in the arm. Wesley Madhavri's come back in this now. Again, Jeet, that batting is also looking really good.
It does, not to forget Brian Bennett as well. He's somebody that I watched in the Under-19 World Cup, twin brother of David Bennett. And that guy's been phenomenal. Even in the series that they had against Bangladesh earlier this year, in the 5 games, he did a phenomenal job with the bat. He a couple of failures here and there, but by Bangladesh mein deliver karna is not an easy job against Bangladesh. And he did that really, really well alongside, of course, chipping in with his off spin, getting wickets there. So they've got this young gun of batters coming through. Clive Madante showed that if he can hang in, he can deliver as well. So he comes in as a straight up replacement of Register Khabwa. We've got Dion Myers, who's very impressive as well. So by batting, ye log ke paas bahut hai. So just like India, Zimbabwe are also pretty much starting from the scratch. Like I mentioned, their experienced batters are done. No Sean Williams, no Craig Irvine. All these guys are gone. So these youngsters have the talent. Wesley Madivre, the under-19 that we have seen. And chalo, he is not fully bloomed for the senior side, but we can still see that potential. Ki bhai mein intent hai. He can deliver the power play with safe shots. He's not somebody who hits it aerially so often or looks for sixes. Who fours marega and he'll get the job done. So even Zimbabwe is somebody who will look to gel together. It's a new look unit, fairly new look unit. So they'll also take their time, and they have got the potential, and we have seen that.
And Nikhil, in terms of Antum Nakwi's sort of debut, is there any update on when can we expect it? Hopefully by the end of the series, so kam se kam khel ke jayega na?
Jesse, from what I have read, they are probably waiting for confirmation of the citizenship and something like that to be able to just hand him the debut after that switch. So again, name, I'm hoping that happens quickly, and you'd assume that, bhai, given that you've picked him in the team, the paperwork and the process might be done. So hopefully, midway into the series, probably after when you have the Shivam Dubey arrive for this esteemed series, we'll have Antum Nakwi also being part of it. I'm also looking forward to how Mavuta comes back and plays, because again, he was someone who was very, very impressive in whatever we've seen of him in the recent times. So very exciting times. I think Zimbabwe's batting is something that has been a worry for them for some period of time, but now you see a lot of potential there. And the good thing I feel with them is they have a lot of options. So to speak, you go with, you have Ngarawa, you have Chatara, you have Blessing Mujragani, three solid pacers. You have a gem of a all-rounder in Sikandar Raza, who can bowl seam up, who can bowl whatever you want to. Then you have couple of part-time options with Bennett, with Mavuta. Even Madhuri can bowl at times. Now again, control might be a problem that you will say, okay, bhai, okay, may not always have the control. But the point is, you have so many options that we have not even got to Yongwei and the others that are there in that lineup. So uh, it is a very exciting batting lineup. Consistency is something that has been a problem, but given how they've started, I'm expecting Sikandar to be able to hold this team together. It's a very young lot, very hungrier as well, you'd assume, especially after this first win. So hopefully a very good set of 5 games, in lined up for us.
Yep, I mean, who would have thought this side that lost Craig Irvine, Sean Williams, Brad Evans, even Ryan Burr is also not a part of setup, for the series. So they are missing a lot of big names. Which is why I was like, boss, ये तो मतलब India भी versus Zimbabwe भी चल रहा है in for all technicalities. But yeah, good to see Zimbabwe come good. And like I said, do not forget, gents, tomorrow we will be back around the same time to talk about India and Zimbabwe's second T20. And also later tomorrow night will be India taking on South Africa in Chennai, the women's side of things. And day after tomorrow, of course, MNL will be back, season 2, episode 1. Lots of fun, lot of entertainment, lot of content coming your way. Just make sure you've tuned into us. I mean, subscribe to us if you haven't already. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great Saturday. And like I said yesterday, please stay hydrated.
Cheers.